in 2019, I found myself working at a quaint local diner, nestled in the heart of our small town. It was an unassuming place, with its faded sign and cozy interior, but it held a special charm that drew in regulars and passers-by alike. As a server, my evenings were typically spent bustling between tables, taking orders and ensuring that patrons left with satisfied stomachs and warm memories. One particular night stands out vividly in my memory. It started like any other closing shift. The clock struck 10, signaling the end of business for the day. However, my work was far from over. I had the task of tidying up the back room, wiping down tables, and ensuring everything was in order for the following day. Little did I know, this mundane routine would soon take a terrifying. As I busied myself with my tasks, the tranquility of the evening was shattered by a series of loud knocks echoing through the diner. Startled, I glanced towards the front entrance to see a figure standing outside, peering in through the glass door. With a sigh, I approached, assuming it was a late customer unaware of the closing time. "Sorry, we're closed for the night," I called out, my voice firm but polite. However, the figure lingered, seemingly unfazed by my words. Growing increasingly uneasy, I reiterated our closing time, hoping to prompt the visitor to depart. Yet, to my dismay, he remained, his presence casting a shadow of unease over the empty dining area. With a sense of foreboding settling in my stomach, I returned to my duties, attempting to shake off the encounter as a minor inconvenience. However, fate had other plans. Just as I began to relax, a sense of dread washed over me as I caught sight of movement near the front door. Peering cautiously, I saw the same figure, now more insistent in his attempts to gain entry. Frustration mingled with fear as I realized this was no ordinary late-night visitor. Summoning all the courage I could muster, I approached the door once more, my voice laced with urgency as I demanded the intruder leave immediately. Yet, to my disbelief, he merely smirked in response, his gaze unnervingly intense. With a sinking feeling, I realized this was no ordinary encounter. I was facing a threat. As if sensing my apprehension, the man pressed against the door, his actions betraying a sinister intent. Panic surged within me as I realized the gravity of the situation. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my phone, dialing emergency services as I made a hasty retreat towards the safety of my car. Outside, the night air was thick with tension as I waited for help to arrive, my heart pounding in my chest. Minutes felt like hours as I watched from a distance, praying for the nightmare to end. Finally, the flashing lights of law enforcement brought a semblance of relief. Though the ordeal was far from over, surveying the aftermath, it became clear that the intruder had harbored malicious intentions. The back door bore the scars of a violent onslaught, evidence of his relentless pursuit. Though nothing substantial was stolen, the violation of our sanctuary left an indelible mark on our quaint establishment. In the days that followed, whispers of the incident spread throughout the town, a grim reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. Yet, amidst the fear and uncertainty, there was also resilience, a community united in the face of adversity. As I reflect on that harrowing night, I'm reminded of the fragility of safety and the importance of vigilance. Though the scars may fade with time, the memory serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that lie beyond the sanctuary of our everyday lives. For the better part of 3 years, I found myself entrenched in the nocturnal world of fast food, serving as the solitary sentinel of the drive-thru at a bustling restaurant, balancing my unusual college class schedule, which afforded me only part-time enrollment. The overnight shifts proved to be a convenient arrangement, allowing me to tackle coursework during the daylight hours. Amidst the monotony of the graveyard shift, there were occasional moments of strangeness that punctuated the otherwise uneventful nights. While my manager endeavored to schedule 2 attendants for the overnight shift, circumstances sometimes conspired to leave me alone in the dimly lit confines of the restaurant. Despite the occasional discomfort, the allure of overtime pay and the relative tranquility of the late night hours kept me anchored to my post. However, it was during one fateful week, with my main co-worker on vacation, that the true test of my resolve presented itself. Left to navigate the nocturnal landscape solo for 3 out of 5 consecutive nights, I braced myself for the challenges ahead. The first 2 nights passed without incident, the rhythm of the drive-thru punctuated only by the occasional hum of passing cars. However, on the 3rd night, as the witching hour approached, a sense of unease settled over me like a shroud. It started as a routine evening, with a steady trickle of customers making their way through the drive-thru lane. Yet, as the clock struck 2 a.m., an eerie stillness descended upon the restaurant, the steady flow of patrons dwindling to a mere trickle. Seizing the opportunity to tackle some overdue cleaning tasks, I set about tidying the empty dining area, the rhythmic hum of the air conditioning serving as a steady backdrop to my efforts. Lost in my thoughts, I scarcely noticed the passage of time until a glimmer of light caught my attention from the front window. Peering through the glass, I was met with the sight of bright headlights illuminating the deserted parking lot. It was an odd sight, considering the restaurant's dining room had long since closed for the night. Yet, I dismissed it as a passing curiosity, attributing the presence of the vehicle to a lost traveler seeking directions in the dead of night. Returning to my cleaning duties, I was soon interrupted by the chirp of my headset, signaling the arrival of a customer at the drive-thru window. Hastening to attend to their needs, I was met with the soft-spoken request for a large soda. Obliging the customer's request, I prepared the drink, all the while aware of their lingering gaze through the window. Handing over the beverage, I bid the customer a good night, only to be met with an unsettling silence as they continued to stare, their eyes fixed upon me with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. Hastily retreating to the safety of the back, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in their wake. Moments later, the silence was shattered by the shrill beep of my headset, signaling another customer in the drive-thru lane. Yet, When I attempted to take their order, I was met with silence on the other end. Peering at the surveillance monitors, my apprehension grew as I observed the same vehicle lingering behind the window, its occupant obscured by the darkness. A sense of foreboding gripped me as I retreated to the shadows, my heart pounding in my chest as I watched the grainy footage unfold. Suddenly, the vehicle lurched forward, its occupant unleashing a barrage of aggressive blows upon the window, their intentions unmistakably hostile. With trembling hands, I reached for the phone, dialing 911 as the assailants' fury intensified, their efforts to breach the locked doors growing more frenzied by the second. Yet, even as the police raced to the scene, the assailant vanished into the night, leaving behind only questions and a lingering sense of dread. In the days that followed, the incident weighed heavily on my mind, casting a pall over my once familiar surroundings. Though the perpetrator remained at large, their menacing presence served as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurked in the darkness. Yet, amid the fear and uncertainty, there was also a newfound sense of resilience, a determination to reclaim the night and defy the shadows that threatened to engulf me. And as I stood vigil over the drive-thru once more, I vowed to remain vigilant, knowing that the night held secrets that were best left undisturbed. Throughout my 20s, I found myself immersed in the world of retail, taking on various roles from stalker to cashier. It was a transient period of my life, defined by the monotonous rhythm of shelving products and ringing up customers. However, one particular job stood out amidst the blur of retail routine, a position at a pet store chain that required me to travel between multiple locations. Each day, I would embark on a journey across town, armed with a van laden with boxes of pet supplies. My task was simple yet demanding: replenish the shelves of each store, ensuring that every aisle was stocked with the essentials for our furry companions. Despite the long hours and physical exertion, the promise of overtime pay made the job financially rewarding, albeit at the cost of a normal social life. One fateful evening, as twilight descended upon the city, I found myself at the tail end of my daily routine. It was nearing midnight, and I was en route to the final store on my itinerary. The streets were deserted, bathed in the eerie glow of streetlights, lending an otherworldly ambiance to the night. Arriving at the pet store, I followed the familiar routine, parking the van by the loading dock and unlocking the rear entrance. As I stepped into the dimly lit interior, the silence of the empty store enveloped me like a suffocating shroud. With practiced efficiency, I began unloading the boxes, methodically placing each item on its designated shelf. Midway through my task, a sudden noise shattered the silence, a faint thud emanating from the front of the store. Pausing in my tracks, I strained to discern the source of the sound, my senses on high alert. For a brief moment, the air hung heavy with anticipation before the silence returned, unbroken save for the distant hum of the air conditioning. Brushing off the momentary unease, I resumed my duties, the rhythmic routine providing a comforting distraction from the unsettling encounter. Yet, as the minutes ticked by, A sense of unease gnawed at the edges of my consciousness, like a persistent whisper in the back of my mind. Then, without warning, the tranquility was shattered once more. The distinct sound of a single cough echoing through the empty aisles, sending a chill down my spine. Frozen in place, I strained to peer into the darkness, my heart hammering in my chest. Seconds stretched into eternity as I grappled with a growing sense of dread. Nobody should have been here. The store was closed, and I was alone. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, to seek safety beyond the confines of these four walls. Summoning every ounce of courage, I crept towards the rear exit, my movements slow and deliberate. With trembling hands, I fumbled for the door handle, relief flooding through me as I stepped into the cool night air. Locking the door behind me, I breathed a shaky sigh of relief, the weight of fear slowly lifting from my shoulders. But the respite was short-lived. As I reached for my phone to dial 911, a cacophony of noise erupted from the other side of the door, the unmistakable sound of someone pounding furiously against the metal, their voice a frenzied chorus of rage and desperation. Panic surged through me as I realized the gravity of the situation. With trembling hands, I dialed emergency services, my voice barely above a whisper as I relayed the harrowing events unfolding before me. As the dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, I retreated to the safety of my van, the distant wail of sirens offering a glimmer of hope in the darkness. What they found inside remains etched in my memory to this day. A lone intruder, his eyes wild with desperation, armed with nothing but a serrated knife and a heart full of malice. As he was led away in handcuffs, I couldn't help but wonder what twisted motives had driven him to seek refuge within the confines of our store. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, the pet store became more than just a workplace. It was a battleground where fear and courage clashed in the dead of night. And though the scars may fade with time, the memory of that encounter serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of our everyday lives.